We wrote a book, me and Christina, a few years ago, and this particular story is a chapter in there called Listen to the Whispers.
When I was traveling, because we talked about this, I was traveling in Europe, I had this unfortunate event happen to me on the business side of things. The old me would have taken a very different route, a route that's a lot more aggressive.
There's two major ones in my life. One's a younger one when I found personal development. I denounced money. I was a weed-smoking, hippie, hammock-laying beach person.
Here's a new opportunity that was given to me, and I just focus on the positive and everything they can attract, right?
Most people just want the answer they want. I wanted to sell the business, but I was scared. I wanted to grow it, but is that what I want? I would say I was the most neutral. I was ready. Something had to change, and I was ready to do whatever needed to get done.
But to me, again, brought me all of this joy and all of this fulfillment that I'm currently living in Panama.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Nicholas and Daniel podcast. We're live here in Panama City. Nicholas, welcome to the studio. So, we wrote a book, me and Christina, a few years ago, and this particular story is a chapter in there called Listen to the Whispers. But there's two major ones in my life. One's a younger one when I found personal development, and I denounced money and corporateness. I was a weed-smoking, hippie, hammock-laying beach person. And I've shared that in other areas, but this one was, I'm pretty open to all spirituality. I've been following it for reading all sorts of books. I've been a Buddhist at one point. I was brought up a Christian. I've got a lot of friends that were Sikhs, and I spent a while reading about Sikhism, Sufism, all sorts of stuff. So I'm kind of a mixed bag. And there was a point when I'd come back to the UK. So I'd been back for, by that time, maybe like, I don't know, let's say 8 years, 9 years. And you just reach these plateaus. And you're 10 years younger than me, yeah? 29? Okay, so I'm 40, so about 10 years difference. There's definitely these periods where all of a sudden you wake up and you're like, I've just been doing the same things. So I decided to say, okay, let's go to the universe. I haven't spoke to you for some time. And let go of some of my practices. I'm not meditating as much. Like you go to the gym, then you for ages, and then you just don't go for a bit, or all of these different things, food, drink, whatever it might be. So I said, I think I need a sign. Yeah. And I'm not one of these people that sees auras. I don't pick up crystals and get vibrations. I'm pretty masculinely linear in a lot of things, but very open. I said, I need a sign. So just a reminder that you're here, a little nudge, something. And I just found during that period of my life, Gabby Bernstein. I don't know if you know who she is.
No.
I call her like a spiritual angel. She's just this blonde goddess type, talks about the universe and stuff like that. Christina, my partner, found her. And she's just got this gorgeous, feminine, angelic presence to herself and talks about spirituality. So I call her a golden angel. And I just discovered her, and I was kind of watching some of her videos and stuff. And I went to my mum's house, and I never go in my mum's house without my mum being there. I just wouldn't, for whatever. This is how I'd been brought up. But I needed to drop something off. I had a key. I said, fuck it. Unlock the door. And I opened the door. My mum keeps an immaculate house, right? Everything has a place. And for some reason, her table is in the middle of the lounge. And as you open the side door, you look straight into the middle of the lounge. And the table's there. And on the table, stood up like that, is a book. And it just says, The Universe Has Your Back by Gabby Bernstein. So I just opened the door, and this blonde golden angel that I've recently discovered in my life, talking about spirituality, is there. And it says, The universe has your back. And I was like, okay. So I dropped the thing off, and I thought, I'm going to open the book. So I sit down, I just open the book, and I just read a page. And she's talking about how she manifests with the universe. Now, I've got very different views of manifestation today. But do I believe that this universe has structure and rules? I absolutely do. So I'm reading this, and she's like, if you want to, whatever you want to call into your life, like if you're going to commune with the universe, just be really clear. Like you don't have to be like softy. Be really clear on what you want. And she describes it as decide what you would love an answer on, and give the universe some options of how it's going to show you. You know, I would really love an answer of this, and if that's to happen, have someone randomly offer me a coffee. Or I want to see an eagle in the sky. So something that you could define with. And if it's not that, then the next car that picks me up is a red taxi. You know, just random things. And I thought that's interesting. And I'm going to speed up a little bit. So I tested that with a couple of things and had some pretty crazy output. And I made the decision that before I did it, I really had to be clear on what my question was, really clear, and really clear on the framing of the answers. And for me, when you get the answer, you better be damn sure you're willing to take the action. So people say that the quality of the question, it gives you the quality of the answer. Quality of your life is decided by the quality of the questions that you ask. Well, I think that's bullshit. The quality of your life is directly related to the quality of the action that you took, to the quality of the question, the answer that came from the quality of the question. So I can ask a great question, get a great answer, and do nothing. But I got a great answer. You got to be willing to actually do it. So don't ask a question to the all-knowing, infinite universe unless you're actually willing to take some action on it, which means you've got to have pre-balls. You've got to be cool beforehand to be like, okay. So I came home one day and I said, I think I'm going to sell the business. So we ran a 37-year-old family business, yeah? And I'd said that at least 5 times over the last 10 years, but this time she looked at me and she went, oh, you're serious, aren't you? And I went, oh,
You really want to know?
I was driving home. I used to go to London for these big events and come back. And who I was in London was not who I was up here. 2 different people. And one day I was like, who am I? Am I that person or am I this person? And I very quick, over a long period, realized that's who I am. I need to let go of this business. I have no idea why I'm here, but I'm not here to do this. So I need to move that out of my life to move forward. And she said, what are you going to do? Because we were raising about $500,000 at that time. And I was like, I'm going to ask the universe. So I went through this process. If I am to sell the business as fast as possible, with speed being the factor, show me an eagle. If I am to stay in the business, raise capital, build a bigger middle management and just really push the business, show me a fox. And if I'm to do something else that I'm just not aware of, that's not one of those 2, clearly, show me a mouse. Not a rat, a mouse. Yeah, not a hawk, an eagle. And I said, universe, this is like a pretty big decision, but I'm willing, I'm ready. But I need you to hit me. I don't want a vague answer, and I need to know within 24 hours or whatever. Maybe I said a week. I can't remember. And I'm ready. And I was holding a calcite crystal. I don't even know why, and it was throbbing. Like I'd never felt a crystal before. I was like, holy crap! I didn't know if it was my pulse, or, logic.
Yeah.
But I didn't care. I was like, my sensation in that moment is this is visceral. So I wake up, I message a business friend of mine, the guy I told you about that always wears a white shirt.
Yes.
Always sharp. I said, can we just meet to talk about life? I could do with a friend. I wake up in the morning with a message from him. And he says, why are you asking me to meet for coffee? We have lunch today. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, you invited me to lunch. Sends me a screenshot of his calendar with an invitation from me for lunch. And it says organizer, me. It's not in my calendar. Oh, well, goosebumps. I swear to God, and I live by my calendar, yeah? So I'm like, oh, well, that's a sign. Yeah, okay, this is good. So, and he sends me some pictures of where we're meeting. I'm like, cool. We always meet at a certain place. And Christina comes down, and she's like, I said, you'll never guess. I messaged Stuart yesterday about the business, yeah? And she said, where are you meeting? And I went, and she said, what? And I was like, oh, no. And then I just showed her my phone. And there's 2 emojis. One is that small baby emoji of a baby's face. Yeah. And the other one is an eagle. Because the place we meet at is called, it's a pub in Rottenstall called the Eagle and Child. And when you walk into the Eagle and Child, they say, welcome to the Eagle and Child. And all of the walls are full of eagles. There's no child. It's just it's called the Eagle and Child, but it's just the knives say eagle on them. It's a really nice pub, right?
That's crazy.
And she looked at me and she's like, well, what are you gonna do? And I was like, oh, it's like when you're playing poker and someone goes, okay,
yeah,
let's see what you got. Yeah. And I said, okay. I said, I'm gonna make a phone call. So I phoned it's called Mark. He's a finance director. He'd been helping me a lot. Really solid guy. Yeah. He was helping me a lot with the investment at the time. And I called him. And I said, this is going to be really weird. And he's like, what? And I was like, do you want to buy the business? And he said, I thought we were raising money. I was like, that was yesterday. Today, do you want to buy that? I said, I'm not the person to deliver. It's one thing, if you're raising capital, that's its own work. It's another thing to then deliver upon the raising of that capital. And he said, give me 24 hours.
Yeah, that's crazy. But again, like you said, nothing would have happened if you wouldn't had the balls to actually do it, right? You need to act on these things.
Don't ask the question.
That's exactly it, right?
Most people just want the answer they want. And I can't tell you I wanted to sell. I don't know. I wanted to sell the business, but I was scared. I wanted to grow it, but is that what I want? I would say I was the most neutral. I was ready. Something had to change, and I was ready to do whatever needed to get done.
I think this ties into something else that I'm doing right now. This new adventure that I'm on as we speak. There's a story I want to talk about just before I kind of talk about this opportunity, but and if it's affected by spirituality and how much I've grown in the past 2-3 years and my action towards this specific situation. So recently, when I was traveling, because we talked about this, I was traveling in Europe. I had this unfortunate event happen to me on the business side of things, and the old me would have taken a very different route, a route that's a lot more, how to say this, a route that's a lot more aggressive, an answer that's a lot more intuitive in a sense, right? And I took a very different approach, right? This approach was a lot more deep in a sense of, all right, do I want to focus on negativity and have my whole life surrounded by actions to kind of negate that factor and be just purely negative and forcing myself into that pocket? Or do I kind of move on, have the balls to move on, find this other opportunity that was kind of given to me by clarity and just focus on a positive side, right? And this is such a game changer, because before I would have taken a very different route, right? A lot more aggressive route. And now, not saying I'm not going to do anything about it, but, really taking the...
When you say aggressive route, you mean pushed, that's the direction I'm going, and I'm going to keep pushing that specific direction without any awareness of the rest. Like driving that forward when you say aggressive.
Yeah, it can be like that. Just...
traditionally masculine energy.
Correct. Exactly. That's exactly it. That was very well said. But instead of doing that, now I'm more focused on, okay, here's a new opportunity that was given to me, and I just focus on the positive and everything they can attract, right? And all of this ties back to, like you said, the balls, right? Because usually you're kind of comfortable with, okay, I just came out of this, I'm comfortable in this, I want to stay around this situation, I'm going to stay in my masculine and be aggressive and do what needs to be done because this is mine, right? Versus being a little bit more open and be like, hey, here's a change I need to do because I know it is the right thing to do. So let's just focus on a positive and attract everything positive around me towards that situation, right? Which is what I'm doing now, which is feeling amazing. And just feels right.
Which
right?
is what?
So, okay, so to that point, 6 years ago, I took a master in trading program from the Institute of Trading and Finance in Montreal. Okay, it's the #1 trading school in the world. Not only because I say so, but because the world says so. Very extensive curriculum, and back in the days, I was at the Montreal campus. Did very well as a student. I was finishing my finance degree and finishing my master in trading program, MIT. And the founder, the main contributor of the school, Marco, took me under his wing. I worked for him as his analyst. And from there, as I performed well, worked for his hedge fund, traded for him. And along the way, as I was practicing trading on these trading pits, having a lot of fun, of experience of living hands-on what was the life of a real trader that had success. I ended up being pushed towards the more institutional side, where I manage a book of one of the largest OTC desks in Canada, in North America. And from there, just went on with my own entrepreneurial journey, moving to Costa Rica, but fully living from trading, right? To me, this whole life is driven by my success in trading, right? And going back to 2 months ago when I was in Mykonos, when this crazy event happened, I was in Greece with my mentor who taught me everything that I know today about trading. And we came to the conclusion that he was the person that gave me that opportunity. And to be completely honest, without him and without his knowledge, without the institution, I could never live the life I'm living today. So I was like, look, I'm living this wonderful life. I'm out here in Panama, living fully from trading, and you should have more, you should affect more people, right? You've been running your business word of mouth for the past 10 years now, purely word of mouth, right? No structure on a sales or marketing perspective. It's just pretty genuine information being given, and it just funnels people in. I was like, my story is so great, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity he gave me. I want you to have more eyes on it, right? So I partnered up with him recently and kind of just restructure the way the leads are coming in and how the information is given and how I can attract more people in. And it goes back. I'm talking about this because we talked about taking decision and take actions on the question you have, right? I speak to a lot of young, driven guys that are seeking something else than a 9 to 5, that are seeking financial freedom, right? Obviously, you see all of these crazy things about traders around the world. Not a lot of it is true, but they're seeking something bigger, right? Especially on the money side. And I speak to a lot of them, giving my story, the opportunity can actually get from it, the money and the freedom they can get from it, but a lot of them are still not taking action, right? A lot of questions, like you said, a lot of questions, but not a lot of actions on these questions, because the answer is right there in front of them, right? Not only myself is a result, I'm not the only one, but I'm a result. And when you lay it all on the table, it's like, here's your question, here's what you want, together, this is the product, right? So do that and you'll achieve what you want, right? And it begs such an interesting question, which is what's the stickiness? What's the friction? Because it's not the price point, because the program is very cheap, because we're trying to, mass market it to keep it open to a lot more people. So the stickiness is like, what is it? Is it your dad? Is it your mom? Is it this, is it the social norm that doesn't make you want to take it? Or is just fear of jumping in, right? Fear of going into something that is not part of their normal. I finish, my school, I go to university, and then I get my degree, and then this is it. Is it outside of the box? But I think, to me, you brought something very, very interesting. I think taking the action it's everything. And without being able to take the action, you're never going to be able to change your life. And to me, taking the action of moving from Canada to Costa Rica to Panama, it took a lot of balls to do this, but oh man, I'm so grateful I did it, right? And a lot of people they see me, they're talking to me, they're like, oh Nick, you live this wonderful life, you're in this beautiful place in Panama, you're living an amazing life. But I took the leap. Like, I decided that I had to do this, and I took that risk, right? It's not like, oh, I'll wait, I'm passive. It's like, right? But it's
really easy. No, it wasn't.
no, it wasn't at all, right? I took the lead. Like, I just bet on myself, right? I really did. It wasn't easy at times, but that's the only way, really, right? There's no reward without risk at the end of the day. It's just a pure mathematical equation at the end, right? So once again, I really invite any young, driven individual that are seeking good understanding of trading. This is by far the best school in the world. It's trusted by thousands of students. It has a campus in Montreal, Miami, an online learning ecosystem where you can have access to everything from in-person to online. And, I just invite anyone to just follow this course. But to me, again, brought me all of this joy and all of this fulfillment that I'm currently living in Panama.